Um, Good afternoon, everybody. Fergus Dolan here from NALA. Delighted to have you here today for a webinar on Google Classroom interactive learning for levels 1 to 3. We're delighted to have Geraldine Raftery from Galway and Roscommon ETB facilitating today. As you might have noticed from my emails to you, Geraldine put in a lot of work giving you instructions how to get in and doing the video, and she made herself available yesterday afternoon and again from early today to help any people join. So over to you.
Okay, and thanks, Fergus. And it's great to see that NALA, who represent the lower levels of students, have really embraced this whole idea of technology. And what I want for you to see today, I suppose, is the student side, because as teachers and tutors and whatever else we might be called, we are struggling, and we have struggled all year now, to provide for the learners. And we've been presented with all kinds of situations and all kinds of technology. You know, where a few years ago learners may have stated something like, I'll never be able to manage to read the book and so on. Now they want to know about apps, and they want to know about different ways of communicating. So I suppose we have to stay ahead of the posse. And now we find that we're in the same space as they are. We have poor broadband, we have lack of training, and in many cases we're left to paddle our own canoe. So I think a lot of you might have heard about Google Classroom, and I'm just delighted today to be asked to kind of introduce you to some resources and tips and tricks as well. So to start off with, I suppose, we are looking at the huge number of people that are using Google Classroom. They're using it effectively. And if you look at the number throughout the world now, you know, people say, oh, well, they're only using it, we'll say, in secondary schools, or they're only using it in primary schools. I think that is not the case. It's been used all over. And the reason is because it is suitable for our type of a learner, if you want to call them that, because I think if you're looking at all the other platforms that are out there, they're suitable for the learners at the other end of the spectrum and not our particular type of a learner. So in this particular situation, I want you today to explore the classwork rather than just the platform itself. So first of all, there's two parts to it. We have the meat and we have the classwork. So up at the top there, you need to keep your two tabs available so that you can go in and out of one of them and in and out of the other one. Are we all okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so if you are thinking about using Classroom, you have to say to yourself, what's the purpose of it? So chances are it will be to improve things for your own students. And it has some great features. So, for example, you can handle the back and forth of assignments. You can put up announcements for your students. You can provide feedback, and that feedback can be audio feedback. You can communicate with your students and so much more. And there's lots of apps that are available as well. So, first thing I would have to say is it's interactive. So when you are working with your student, you can be in the same page as your student. And it allows you to differentiate. For example, I have men there would say they're doing spreadsheets. They're very good at doing the calculations and the formulas and so on. But one would be slower than the others at the spellings. Now, mostly it's to do with the spelling of names. So in this particular situation, I can go into his sheet without the others knowing it, and I can work along with him and say, don't forget now, you know, we need to have a capital letter here, that kind of thing. Nobody else knows I'm in that sheet, only he knows it. So when we're talking about setting up Google Classroom, we need to ask yourself, why? What are we going to be doing this for? And you yourself now, you know, if you just give yourself a minute and think of your own groups that you have. Are they ESOL groups? Are they basic maths groups? What kind of groups have you got yourself that you might be able to use this with? Because at the moment, people are using Zoom and they're using Teams and so on. and they're fine, but they are for meetings. So they're not really suitable for doing work with your student. So what's happening is you are reading PowerPoints maybe, are you giving them worksheets, are you emailing them and they have to email you back and you correct it and so on. And it takes an awful lot of time. With this kind of a platform, you are working with your student, and in actual fact, they get a lot more attention from you this way than they might even in the classroom. Because if you're in a classroom, it's very difficult to go to one student more often than the others. You have to be spreading yourself around, whereas in this, you are actually on a one-to-one, even in a group. So just there to have a look at it there now, maybe if you just go into the classwork there for a second, if you can get into that tab at the top of your screen there, where you see Google Training CPD. Okay, so we're just going to go into the classwork, and we're going to come down there to Spring. Okay. So if you all log into Spring, and you might get a notice there telling you that you're currently signed in under student, whatever it is. So just say okay to that. Okay. So this is kind of a typical exercise that you might do, and it's either for ESOL or it could be for literacy students as well. So while you're working away on that, I can actually see you working in it. So I'm going to go in there too. So a lot of the work that you have, you already have lots of sheets, you've got lots of exercises, and you can very easily upload them onto this and work from that. So you don't have to be creating all new stuff. So I am in there now in student 19, and I can see that they have written there the first sentence, okay? So a couple of things are happening from my side here now. I can see they said I plant a bulb in the spring, so I can come over here and I can put in a little private comment. Okay. They'll see that coming up there in a minute. Okay. I planted the bulb. So down here, I can write a little comment there that nobody else needs to know that I'm writing. Okay. And if you have made a mistake there, if you just come back into that first screen there, okay, where you said you planted the bulb. So if you had put in a wrong spelling there, for example, I can just change that. So I can add on to it, and I might say, I planted the bulbs this morning. You might be stuck with the word morning, for example.
Geraldine, sorry, can I interrupt you there?
You can.
I have typed in on the bulb. How do I send that to you, or do you just see it? You
don't have to send it. I can see it all there.
Oh, great. That's brilliant. Thank you. See, I'm so used to sending emails.
I know. Yeah.
Geraldine.
Yeah.
Student 49 said, are we supposed to be seeing your desktop only have the video view? Does that mean that
no, I'm just leaving you there for that now. I just want you to work away on it for a few minutes until you get the feel of it yourselves. Okay. Okay, I'll just post them there now to student 19. Okay, I was just looking at it, yes. So I'm going to go back there to the first slide for 19, and I'm just going to pay there this morning. Okay, and I'm going to say well done. And of course, most of our classes are small. You might only have 7 or 8 or 10 people in them. Can you see there now? Okay. Fergus, did you see yours?
I have it open twice. I wonder if that's what happened.
Geraldine, this is Fergus. Which slide did you put the comment in? Slide 2?
Oh, okay, so I went into your slide number 2 there.
Yeah.
And I said I planted the bulbs this morning. You said bulb, and I just changed it to bulbs.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, okay.
I can see you made a change to it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the next thing I want you to just come out of that now for a moment. And I want you to go back up to classwork again there. And I'm just going to show you another couple of little things.
Sorry, Geraldine, does it save automatically?
It saves automatically, yeah. As soon as you press enter, it's saved.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So if you were giving an assignment, we'll say a formal assignment, up on the top right-hand side there, it will give you opportunity to what they call turn it in. Okay, so they would turn it in, you would correct it, and you'd return it. So in that way, it works, I suppose, a bit like Moodle, where you would receive it, you would mark it, and then you return it to the student. So the student actually owns the document.
Okay.
So you would give it a mark. If you're giving it a mark up to level 3, you're probably not giving it a mark at all. You might be just making a comment on it. But you would you get it, you correct it, and you send it back. Okay, so they own it. So we're going to go in there now into ESOL basic exercise, okay?
Oh, I've lost my link.
Okay, up at the top of your screen there, you should be able to see again your class, Google Training.
No,
CPD.
I've lost it.
Okay, have you got Google down the bottom of your screen? Maybe you might have minimized it there by mistake.
Oh, maybe. No.
No, well, you're still on, so you're not lost completely.
Right.
You're still here. You're still here. And so you, up at the top of the screen there, you can see where the meet is. You see the meet button with the little red circle?
Yes.
Yes. So to the left of that, do you have Google Training?
No, I have the Meet CVD
Yeah.
FW.
And no other window?
No.
No other tab. Okay, so over on the right-hand side, you can see 9 dots beside your profile where you've logged in there. Can you see 9 dots there?
No, 3, Geraldine.
On the right-hand side where you're logged in, beside the Meet, on the Meet window.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So if you're in basic exercises there. No?
No, there's nothing there.
Are you, what number are you, 78?
No, 36.
36. Where are you? 36. Okay. 36. Okay, well, you can always log out and log back in again if you want to, but you should have 9 dots over on the right-hand side of your screen.
No.
I think she might only have 3 dots, Geraldine.
Okay, so just scroll down there and see, can you come to Google Classroom?
Yes.
Yes. So just click onto the Google Classroom. And you should be able to log in from there. So if we're inside there in ESOL basic exercises, have we got into that one? And simple gap fill exercises.
Geraldine, can you share your screen when you're working on it, or will that be beneficial?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've got it back, Geraldine. Thank you.
Great. So I've got up there now on my screen there a gap fill exercise. Okay, so this is just to share. So this means that you can work together. You can collaborate on a document, which is, sometimes it works very well. It's not going to work so well in something like this because you want a student to do each themselves. But if you are working on something together, this is ideal because 3 or 4 people can be in there writing a little chapter each, or they can be filling up whatever it is, a little exercise, a little project that you'll be doing. They're working together, so they're helping each other. And this works very well for any kind of collaborative work.
So if people want to see what Geraldine's doing, you click on at the top the Meet CVD link, and you can see Geraldine working on the gap fill there, or you can just do it yourself.
Yeah, if you're in the screen, the Meet link, the Meet tab.
Or if you want to do it yourself, you can click on the classwork for Google Training link.
Yeah. So there's 2 tabs open all the time. That's the thing with it. There's 2 tabs. Rather than you going into Zoom, for example, you just have the 1 tab open all the time. In this particular case, you have to have the 2 simply because you are working in a classroom. So you have classwork and you have your Meet at the same time. Is everybody okay?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's very quiet, of course, because the mics are off, so it's not like being in a classroom.
Geraldine, there's just a question in the chat there from student 41.
Okay, what does it say? Were your students shown in the classroom? How to get through the classroom before we all went online? No. So the weren't. It's. So a gap fill exercise, so it's the same as you would hand them out. We'll say if you're in the classroom, it's just a gap fill exercise. So you have, you would normally have a bank of words, and you would be, just filling in gaps. So in this situation, it's online, and if it's a shared document, it would be chaotic because everybody's going to work on it together. But if you have, when you're assigning them, you'll be making a copy for each student. So everyone has their own copy of the document. So that's to do with the setting up of it, though. That's different now. It's not being a student. Okay, so I suppose ideally what you'd be looking at in your centres, that you would have 1 person who is going to admin on this. So they would sign up the students, we'll say they will give them the login and the password and so on. And another feature of it all is that if somebody loses a password or they can't log in, the person in the centre can reset it immediately. You don't have to be waiting for an admin to come from some other town or whatever. In our situation, you could be waiting 2 or 3 days to reset a password. But if the person in the centre is able to do that, it eliminates all that delay and wait. So we might look at another little one there now. Classwork. Oh, the bingo cards. Okay. So if you're in classwork again, can we just come down there? We'll have a look at the bingo cards. And this is using what's called Jamboards. So they would be useful. Again, you might have 2 or 3 people working away together. You could have as many sheets as you want. You can have a little bit of fun with these kind of things. If you look over on the right-hand screen there, over in the right-hand corner beside your profile again, you'll see your 9 dots. Those 9 dots are your apps. So if you just click on those for 1 second, inside there you're going to see you've got email, you've got Drive, you've got slides and sheets and docs and so on. They're all your apps. They are all the things that you are going to be using and you're going to be needing to be running in the classroom. In the same way as up to now, you might have your Microsoft Word and your PowerPoint and so on. And they'd be all separate. You'd have to go into each of them individually. Inside, they're all in here for you. So in this particular one, the bingo words, we're going to use Jamboard. So you might have to scroll down there a small bit to find Jamboard. And this is what we're using for the bingo words. So if you just click onto the bingo words there for a second.
If you've used Padlet, Jamboard is quite like Padlet.
Yeah. So you can have up to 20 frames. They're not called pages, they're called frames. So you can have up to 20 frames on these. And you can see there how people have started to interact with it already. Yeah, okay. And you just, yeah, exactly. You just play around with that. So these are little games that you'd have for your students. And you can have them for maths. You can have them for ESOL, you can have them for whatever you want. So you could have spellings, you could have tables, like I say, you could have little maths questions. And it's instant again. I can see what you're at on the screen. Everybody else can see what you're at. So I can see there now that it will only take, there's only 20 pages on it, okay? So what you'll be doing, you'll be saying to your students, you're going to take page 2 or screen 2 or whatever you want to call them. They're called, technically they're called frames. So you wouldn't have the one person or 2 people on the one, you'd separate them out. So you might have one student calling them out and another person answering. So this is bingo. But instead of having numbers, we just put in words, again, just to show you how it works. So you might have one student calling out the words and just checking. So they're all working together. That's it, perfect. So that is your, that's the Jamboards. Okay. We have Connect 4 is the next one. So remember now, you're not in there as teachers, you're all in there as students, so have plenty of fun with it. So we have lots of Jamboards again, and we use them for lots of different things. So this one is Connect 4, and you can use Connect 4 for literally anything as well. They're very easy to make on a Jamboard. You can use them for spellings, you can use them for grammar, you can use them for maths. And the beauty of it all is it's all housed inside in your apps. Okay. Are we all winning? Student 52, what are we looking at there? 52. Paula, are we doing okay there? Yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Geraldine, can you tell me where to find Connect 4 when you're in Jamboard?
It's just, okay.
Oh, no.
You have to make it. You have to make it. It's something that has been created.
All right.
The question there.
Yes. Yeah.
Who asked that question about the Jamboard?
Yeah.
Student 40.
Student 40. You need to click on classwork for Google Training, and then under the bingo words, Geraldine has it set up. Connect 4 grammar, and you've got the Jamboard there.
Sorry, I was in the Jamboard. That's great. I'll go back and have a look.
Okay, so these are all created from Jamboard. I've just set them up today as samples, just to show you what you can do.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And again, that Jamboard has got the 20 frames in it. So you would, you know, so, and you can give whatever directions you want. So on this one, answer a grammar question. And when you answer the grammar question correctly, you put your little counter down the bottom. You start on the bottom row and you build it up and get 4 in a row and so on. They have great fun with those. And they test each other as well, which is great. Are we all okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Laying away there.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
If anyone has any questions, they can also type them in the chat function.
And there, student 57, are you okay, Anne? Yeah. Okay. So there's lots and lots of opportunities for ways of learning that are all together. Your student is with you. You're working on a one-to-one with them, or you're working in small groups with them. You're not working, you know, you're not just presenting a PowerPoint. You're actually working in the sheets with them, and it's all in the one system, in the one place. So over on your right-hand side, again, you'll see your 9 dots. So I'll just remind you that that's where your apps are, inside on that 9 dots. So from my side here now, I'm just going to change my screen there. Okay,
so to see if anyone just missed the 9 dots, to see the 9 dots, you need to click on
the
Classroom for Google Training.
There. Okay. I'll have a job to get you back out of there now, I'm thinking. Has anybody got lost yet?
No.
No.
Sorry, Geraldine, I'm a little lost. I've lost my classroom tab.
You've lost your classroom tab. Okay, can you see the Meet tab?
Yeah, I can see that. I'm in actually the ESOL basic exercises, but I can't get.
Okay. So up at the top of your screen there, can you see Google Training CPD?
No, I've lost that tab. That one is gone. I have NALA Students ESOL Basic as a tab, but my Google Classroom tab has gone. I may have closed it by mistake.
You may have closed it by mistake, yeah. Okay, so in that case, you're going to have to open a new tab.
Open a new tab. How do I do that?
Just at the top of your screen there where the plus sign is.
Ah, okay, new tab. Okay.
New tab, yeah. And over on the right-hand side of your screen there, you should see your profile where you're logged in.
Yeah. The round circle with...
Yeah, the round circle with probably your initial in it.
Yeah.
To the left of that, you should see your 9 dots.
9 dots, yeah.
9. called a waffle and called a lot of other little things. So you're going to click on those dots.
It looks a bit like an on post sign. There's a green sign. It's
When
the
I
second
click-
last row of the
Of
apps.
the apps. Yeah. That's all that's wrong.
Oh,
So when you get your tab, when you open your new tab, you are going to log in under what we gave you to log into this session.
okay. So I've actually gone out.
Yeah, and that is one of the issues that arises because it's inclined to always revert back to your own email.
Okay.
Okay.
So a new tab, I need to go back in to.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So with Google Classroom, you can have it as an app on your phone as well, so students can access stuff on their phones easily, and they can look at the classwork, and they can join the meet, and all those other little extra bits. It's not ideal because you can't, like we all know, you can't really do any serious work on a phone.
No, and can I say something, Geraldine? It's great, but I'm just thinking for my students, a lot of them would have very low digital literacy skills, and I'm just wondering how they would manage to get around, trying to negotiate the class.
Yeah.
How have you managed to help you?
Well, usually what would happen is the very first thing I would do is I would ring them, have a chat with them, find out what they know. I'd send them the video, something similar to what I sent to you, almost the same video. Then they would try to log in, and generally speaking, they have a problem. So we do a WhatsApp call, and they put their phone towards the screen, and we talk them through it. That's all that's to it. That's the first time. Once they get logged in the first time, and what they do is they bookmark that, because I talk them through it. So really, it's individual. You have to nearly go through this with each individual student.
The same for when you set up an activity like the ESOL Basic, the gap fill activity. Yeah. Would you need to kind of go through that with them as well, just to show?
Oh, you would, of course, in exactly the same way as you would be in an ordinary classroom. You'd be fluid, you'd be explaining it, you'd have your bank of words, you'd be doing all the teaching online the same as you would be. But you're face-to-face with them. And yeah.
But would you need to do that one-to-one before they actually, before you present it in the classroom? Would you need to show them?
Oh, you would, of course. You'd have your teaching done. These exercises here today now are for you, assuming that you know a bit already. You're already computer literate, at least.
Yeah.
They might not be. So you could be starting off with mouse exercises for some of those. Teach them the basic digital skills. But I find a lot of the ESOL in particular have a lot of computer skills. So they're not really starting at a very low base. And the one-to-one literacy students then that are coming on board at the moment, they're able to use their phone. They might not be able to use things online like we are, but they are all able to use their phone. And once you put the app on the phone and they try it a few times and they become familiar with it. But I find it's much easier for the lower level students, because they're all working together, I suppose, and it's interactive, and that's the bit they like, that they can see you there in their sheet along with them, supporting them.
Oh, it's brilliant, Geraldine, to be honest. It's a game changer, I think, for me. Thank you very much.
Good. Yeah. Anybody else there? Very slow to open. Yeah, that might be internet now. Actually, the Jamboards are the one thing that are slower to open up. I find that myself, because it's 20 frames in them, I guess, and they're usually fairly interactive. So they are slower to open than anything else. Now, if you just go back there to your 9 dots as well, and that's where you would have your documents. So it's a word processing is very similar to Microsoft Word. So you could open your document there, and you could have a look there at the drive. Now, students would also have this because they have exactly what you've got there today. They have their Google Drive up here in the corner where the 9 dots are. And they have their Gmail. Now, I don't encourage or tell them that this Gmail is just for the class, so they wouldn't be using that as a Gmail address. But they have their slides, they have their sheets, and they have their docs. They have what else? The calendar, of course, is in it. So we're just going to open docs there for a second. And you go to blank docs there. Okay. So they will, if they want to create something for you, they can go in there to Untitled Document and they can type up something. But usually what you would be doing as a teacher is you would be giving them a document to work on, and you would assign it to them.
Geraldine, could you share your screen again, please?
Okay.
Thanks. From student 52, do you mean to go to Drive to open that blank document?
Yes, exactly.
Hi, Geraldine Fergus. I put a message in there to the chat just to say, unfortunately, I have to go, but it was very, very good. A lot to practice, but very good. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye. So I'm going to go into my Drive there and I'm just going to show it on the screen.
Yeah, we can see that. Thanks.
Okay, so over to your 9 dots. Okay, so the 9 dots are over there beside your profile where you log in. And I'm going to come down here to the docs. And it's just that it's not such a big learning curve if they've already been used to using Microsoft Word or whatever it is that they're using as, and you can just go to blank document. So the toolbars are very similar. So you have all your formatting tools like your bold, italics, underline, and so on. Now, they probably wouldn't be creating new documents that often because you would have the work already created for them and shared. So I'm just going to now, while I have you all there, I'm just going to go down now as the teacher for a moment and just see what it means to set up something. So if I am the teacher now and I want to set up an exercise for my students, I'm going to go into classwork and up at the very top there, I'm going to create. So I'm going to create an assignment. Okay. And I'm going to call it training.
Could you share your screen on this one, please, Geraldine?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to call it assignment. I'm going to call it training. Okay, and I'm going to maybe put in one instruction there. And I'm going to say, write a paragraph. Okay, so over on the right hand side here, you can see a whole lot of stuff. Okay, so it's for this lesson. Now we can decide here whether we're going to give it to all our students or whether we're going to give it to just 2 students in that class. So when I select this here, I can select it. By default, it goes to all students, but I can select how many students I want. So this would mean that, again, If you have 2 or 3 weaker students, you'll be giving them a different exercise to the others. So I'm not going to select all students, I'm just going to select 1 or 2 students maybe for this particular exercise. Okay, and you just go back up here and you assign to those 2 students. So that's another very good aspect of it, that everybody's not going to get the same exercise. So for example, again, you could have 1 exercise with 3 paragraphs on it, but for the weaker student, you might have the same thing, but you might give them 2 paragraphs instead of 3. Nobody else is going to know that. So you can give it points if you want to. You can give it a due date also if you want to, and a topic. So I would normally have topics. So the topics could be the days of the week, they could be by week, they could be by month, whatever it might be. I would usually do topics like this week, we'll say, is the 3rd. Yes, today is the 3rd or 4th, yeah, of March. But I might put in the topic of spring, or I might put in whatever topic, you can decide yourself what the topic might be. And in here, you would add something from your drive. So you go back to your Google Drive and you decide what that exercise is going to be. So your drive is where everything is stored. So you can see in there what I've used already. For example, there's my bingo words. There's an untitled document that I'm just after opening. Okay, and here you go. So you just pull an exercise basically out of that, and you can see my drive is pretty full. Okay. So I am just going to take out something out of this now. So here we have options then as well. What do you want the student to do with that file? Do you want them to just look at it, to read something, some piece of reading material? Do you want them to edit it? So if you're going to edit it, it means that everybody that you share this with is going to edit it. So that's fine for a Jamboard where everybody's moving rings around the place. But if you want somebody to do some exercises on it, you are going to make a copy for each student. So there are the 3 different things. They can view it, which is reading material. They can edit it, which is a Jamboard or something that they're working together on. Or you're going to make a copy for each student, and a copy for each student would be the one if you're going to ask them questions and they have to answer questions. So then with the 3 different things. So I'm just going to say in this one, we're going to make a copy for each student. And up here, I'm going to assign it. So when those 2 students come in the morning and they open it up, there they have their exercise. So of course, nobody else is going to know what exercises they've got. But when I come back out to my Google training, I can see that up there I have a new exercise. I didn't put it in under March the 3rd, just left it up there, but I can put it in under that topic if I wanted to. So that is, there's a nice little shapes activity there, which is another lovely little one there. It is very visual as well, very easy to work on. It's basic shapes, and there's little videos along with it, and telling them to make square or a triangle and so on. So most of these things, they can log in at home, of course, at any time, and they can do those exercises. They don't have to be in the meet with you. They can be at home quite comfortably, working away on any of those exercises themselves. And usually when people start off, it's saying, make sure, you know, that you log in tomorrow now and have a go at that, or log in the next day or whatever, so that they're not depending just on attending the class and doing all these things in class time. So I'm just going to share that shapes with you there now. You can have a look at it. So down here, make square. So, and it's a very simple little exercise. They are a little, you know, very simple.
Geraldine, can I ask you just a little question? How good would this work on a phone? Because a lot of my students would only have phones.
Yeah, I was showing the phone there to somebody this morning. it's like everything else, I suppose, on a phone. They can go in and they can look at what's there. I never recommend that they use a phone really, because they can read. If there's any reading, if there's any writing, they can do it on the phone, especially the reading. I would do a lot of audio, and I do a fair bit of audio feedback, so they can access that quite easily. But to do the exercises, you know yourself, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah. Grant. Okay.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah,
they can.
you need a tablet or a PC. Yeah.
And I will do a lot of for the ESOL, well, both actually, the literacy as well. If I write a paragraph or two, I would also put it in audio as well, so they can listen to it.
Listen. Okay. Thank you, Geraldine.
Phones are difficult.
Yeah.
They sound ideal, but of course.
Yeah, they're too small. Thanks a million. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Oh, I'm fine, Geraldine. I'm enjoying it. I'm learning. I've taken in a lot. But
there's an awful lot probably to take in, but. And obviously, if you were real students in a real class, you'd only be doing one of those exercises a day probably. You wouldn't be launching something like this and have a whole lot of stuff thrown at you. You'd be going in, you'd be doing one exercise. For example, the spring one that we did there, I did that this morning with an ESOL group, and they absolutely loved it. They were chatting away about calves and lambs and all kinds of things. And one of them was from Somalia, and she said she lived on a farm in Somalia. So she was telling them about the sheep that you can see here and the sheep that they have, and a lovely morning. They had a lovely morning with it.
Geraldine, there's a question there from student 78 saying, how do you upload your audio?
Yeah, I use Vocaroo, Vocaroo, and I find it one of the best because it's so simple to use. Now there's a new one on the go at the moment called Mote, M-O-T, and that's a little app. It's there in your worksheets, and you can use that if you want to be, if you want to give feedback instantly. But I like Vocaroo. It's one of the old ones there for years. Maybe that's why I like it, but it's very simple. So what I would do is, Vocaroo is another, it's online, so you record it, you download it, and you put it into your drive. Everything's in your drive, so you don't be looking for stuff. Everything is there.
Thanks, Geraldine. Student 78 followed up saying, where is Vocaroo?
Yeah, it's online. It's just, it's a website. But you don't have to do anything with it. You just go into it, you do your recording, and yeah, store everything that you can.
Thanks. Number 7, student 70, put up the link for Vocaroo for us. Thank you.
Yeah, Vocaroo, yeah. Yeah, it is one of the old ones, but a lot of other things come and go, and I suppose we hold on to a few that we find useful. But Mote is very popular now. It's very popular, so you download that as an extension. And for giving feedback, it is excellent. Yeah, but no, I intend. Now, the only one thing that you have to be really careful of, I would save all my audio in the drive and make sure that you share everything that's on that folder.
Any other questions there? Anyone for Geraldine?
Yeah. When you said there about sharing, so like when a learner is in the assignment, so if they press share, does it just share that with you, or does it share it with all the class, or what?
Oh no, nothing is ever shared with all the class unless they choose it to. No.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So that's their way of sharing it with you, as in showing it to you, is it?
No, they wouldn't do that. I would be going into their classwork rather than if they wouldn't be sharing it with anybody. Once they're in, because I make a copy for each person.
Oh, so it's only the tutor. It's only the tutor that can share things, is it?
You would share from the drive. They can share if they want to, but they wouldn't normally be. They wouldn't normally be sharing something they're working on.
Okay.
So I'd be making a copy for each student so that everybody has their own copy and nobody knows what anybody else is doing or whatever.
Yes, put up another link for us to just mote link. Thanks for that. It's just mote.me. And so if you any other questions there, you can either type them in or unmute yourself and ask Geraldine. Or Geraldine, is there anything else you wanted to show us?
And it's free, of course. That's the other thing.
And as you say, Geraldine, it does look more like what happens in the classroom rather than the Zoom. It looks more similar.
Oh, definitely, yeah. You see, with the Zoom or with any of those platforms, you have to then do the work afterwards. You're not doing the work while you're on the Zoom because the Zoom is only a meeting. You know, what do you do? How do you present your work to your students? You have to either email them or you have to be reading something while they're on the screen along with you. But there's no actual interaction during the Zoom meeting. So, you know, I would say to try to look at what we're doing through the eyes of students, not really through something that suits us as teachers. So they'll be the ones that's going to use this, and they're going to be the ones that has to navigate it. Make it work for them. You'll find everything that you put in there because you put it there. So everything that you put in there, it's in your drive already. You know, and just try to think, what are they going to do? How are they going to learn from this?
Can I ask a question? Sorry, student 19 here. I'm just wondering about, do I have to use Google Docs and Google's version of PowerPoint, or can I use my own Word documents and upload them to the drive? Or do the students need then to have Microsoft Word? Or am I just best using Google Docs and Google's version of PowerPoint or whatever?
Okay, they're very good questions. Everybody at this point probably has loads of documents that they have created themselves in Microsoft Word. They're not going to go to waste. All you have to do is upload them. So you would go into your drive, upload them to your drive, and they convert for you automatically. So they become Google Docs. So that's how you would share them. The student doesn't need to do anything because what he's going to be getting is online. But what you've already made for yourself, the loads of resources that you already have, you can use all of those by just uploading them into that drive.
Thanks very much. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Not wasted. But you can make them interactive, of course.
Thanks, Geraldine. Geraldine, I suggest, if you don't mind, doing a little 2 or 3 minute recap at the beginning, just if this was all new to people and they're still a tiny bit hazy as to how you get started and what are the main pros and cons of it.
Okay, to get started, you will need to approach somebody in your organization, like an ALO, I suppose would be where you'll be going. You need to set up G Suite for your centre. That's really what you need to be looking at. So to do that takes about a week, I suppose, from start to finish to actually put up the G Suite in place. You will need to provide some documentary evidence that you are a centre and so on. That's the first move. Then you go in and you set up your account. Once you set it up, you have your drive, and your drive is what you need. So you don't have to be thinking about storing things on USB keys, putting things on your desktop, creating millions of folders that you can never find anything in. They're all going to be there, and they're nice and handy, and wherever you are, they are. So that's really the beauty of it, and the application of it with your students. That's what makes it all worthwhile, because it is a platform for students, not just a meeting. This is actually a classroom situation. And it's the nearest thing to replicating a real classroom.
Thanks,
And
Geraldine.
when we go back, I think what we left behind is not what we're going to be going back to. We are going to be going back to a different setup anyway. You know, I don't think we're ever going to be able to lean in over somebody again and try and help them. You know, we can do it this way because we're working with them in their sheet. And sure, all they have to do is set up the students. So to set up the students, our A class takes, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes. Once the student is set up, I can't see any other need for any other IT support because that one person is able to do it. So if, for example, like I say, somebody loses a password, can't log in, you can change it instantly. So uploading your documents, yeah, that's going to take probably a little bit of time if you've already got folders, but you can upload a full folder at a time. So if you've got, as I say, if you've got your PowerPoints there already and your Word documents, you can upload them straight to the drive. And that drive will hold numerous amount of materials. Yes, so I don't think there's no need for an IT department, we'll say. There's just a need for maybe one person to enter all the students. And you're in control then of your students. Because your class. In your case,
is that you, Geraldine, who did that work in your case?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. I see student 37 has a question, Geraldine, for you.
Just to say, we're actually using Google Classroom as well in our service now. It's right across our service, so it's not just on the literacy side, so the other. So on the admin side, that's all done centrally. So everybody puts in a list of the classes and the students, you know, to the team that are handling it. They set up all the classes and all of that side of things.
Great.
Then, as an individual tutor, you've kind of all your students are assigned and everything's set up for you, and it's just up to you to upload your content. But I have to say there is a bit of work on the admin side when you're doing the kind of volume.
Yeah.
There
is a bit, but I mean, it has to be easier, surely, to manage than what we're at already, which means that
it works much better because you have a consistent approach then across the board, and everybody knows what to expect and what to do. I was just going to ask you if you would mind if I used one of, you know, that springtime piece that you have, if it would be okay if I use that as an example for some tutors in our services to how you can enrich some of the work that you put up on Google Classroom.
So yeah, the audio, of course, you know, so they have the audio, they have the writing, they're going to make sentences, they have the reading. So I would try and bring in all four elements into every exercise that I do. There's reading, writing, listening, and speaking in everything. And I don't think of one really without the other. You know, I try to bring in all the four elements into every exercise.
No, thank you very much.
No problem.
Questions there before we finish up?
No.
Okay, Geraldine, any last point to add, or are you talked out at this stage?
I think I'm talked out at this stage now. I hope that it has been useful. And thank you again, Fergus, for embracing all this technology. And it's great to see the literacy service open to this kind of thing. It's just great, wonderful, well done. And for the rest of you, I hope that it has been enjoyable, if nothing else, and hope you've taken away something from it that you might be able to use in your own service.